Welcome to day 6, featuring none other than Viome. So today is day 6 of 12 days of biohacking gifts. Every single day, I am featuring a different brand that I love in the health and wellness space. Every day comes with a giveaway, which is hosted on my Instagram at biohackingbrittany, and you can win. There's a lot that you can win right now. So go over there, check it out, enter everything. I really, really encourage you to do so. All of the giveaways are open for 7 days, so there's lots of time for you to get your entries in. So today is all about Viome. This is their full body intelligence test. This test is so comprehensive. I've done it a couple times now. It includes a blood, saliva, and gut microbiome test. So there's like so much information that comes from this. If you have ever thought about looking at the microbes in your gut, looking at the microbes in your mouth, this is the test to take a look at. It really helped me, even when I had leaky gut, figure out that I had leaky gut. It helped me realize kind of what good bacteria and bad bacteria I had, any viruses that I had, what foods I should be eating for my gut and what I should be avoiding, and so much more. And we definitely dive into that in the podcast episode today. So you are going to really get a lot out of this interview. And please enter the giveaway for this. This is a really, really big prize, actually. So I really encourage you to enter for this one. I will also link my link to Viome below with my discount code if you want to try this out yourself or give it to somebody for a holiday gift this year. Like, this is an amazing gift to get. Oh my gosh, I would be so happy if I got this gift. And I just realized I was holding this upside down. But this would be an amazing gift to give for anybody who has gut health issues or symptoms, or are kind of like at a loss and they don't know where to turn. The more data you get on yourself, the more you can kind of help yourself and realize, okay, this is where my symptoms are coming from. So I encourage you to enter. I encourage you to try this out if you haven't yet. And stay tuned tomorrow for day 7 of 12 days of biohacking gifts. Okay, everybody, welcome to 12 days of biohacking gifts. Today, we are featuring one of my favorite brands that I have been using for, I don't even know, 4 years, I think was the first time I got tested. But we are talking to the team from Viome today. I have Morri Choiwalki on the podcast with me. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Brittany, and I'm very excited to be here today. And thank you so much for your kind words and loyalty. We appreciate it.
Yeah. You are one of the OG biohacking brands in my mind. And when I was putting this holiday campaign together, Viome was definitely on the top of my list to bring on. So for everybody listening, you can win a full body intelligence test, which typically retails for $3.99 US. And if you win, you get it for free, and you can do that through my Instagram post. All the details are there for the giveaway, so go check it out on Instagram. So let's dive right in. For those who don't know what Viome is, how do you typically explain it?
Very simply, I say that Viome is a full scan of your body, especially now that we have the full body intelligence, because we're looking at every part of the body using 3 bodily parts. We're using saliva for the oral microbiome, blood for the actual alive cells, and then we're looking at the stool for the gut microbiome. So basically, long story short, is we scan your body by you giving us 3 of those samples. You send it into our laboratories. We don't send anything out. It's all in-house. And within about a week, we publish results through your app and basically tell you everything that's going on in your body, hundreds of scores, everything from the top down, from cognitive, oral health, breath, gingivitis, down to cellular health and mitochondrial health, stress, immune response, biological age, which is an algorithm that gives you your biological age compared to your chronological age, your gut microbiome health, your immune health, all these amazing scores. And then it tells you, in addition, what foods are good for you based on those scores, why. The why is very important. What foods that are not good for you and why. And then we go even one step further and we recommend custom supplements. And for those people that are in the US, unfortunately outside of the US, we're not doing it yet. We actually manufacture supplements on demand for each customer based on your unique biology. So that's kind of the overall elevator pitch of what Viome is.
Right, right. I love that. I love how personalized it is. So, why do people typically come to you to get tested in the
Right.
first place?
So I think I should target a little bit of my thoughts about the technology, because I think that's very important. Our technology that we use is something called metatranscriptomics, and we're the only ones in this space that are using it. Plus, we're the largest company now in the microbiome space. We have over 500,000 customers at this time, and we've been in business for about 6 years. There was a lot of DNA testing back in the day, and DNA is interesting. It's very helpful to, identify dinosaur bones or bodies that are dug up from 100 years ago. Why is that? Because DNA never changes. The DNA you have in every single cell in your body is identical, and it never changes. It will mutate from time to time, but it's the same. Your hair, your fingers, your toes, your eyes all have the exact same DNA, right? Two identical twins have the exact same DNA. When you're healthy, you have the same DNA. When you, God forbid, gain 200 pounds and you become obese, it's the same DNA. When you're diabetic, when you have cancer, when you have Alzheimer's, and when you die, it's the same DNA. So if DNA can't tell you whether you're alive or dead, how can it help you to understand whether you're healthy or not? So our focus for the last 7 years was RNA. And the RNA is our focus because the layman's way to explain it is, imagine DNA are the letters of the alphabet, but RNA are the words that they make. DNA are the genes, RNA is the gene expression. How is that gene expressed? Because if all the cells are the same, why doesn't a finger grow up here or a hair grow down? Is because it's how it's expressed. So that's what we do. We actually analyze the mRNA. We were fans of mRNA way before the COVID vaccines came out. And that is what gives us the ability to not only tell you what's going on right now, but to give you very clear recommendations on foods. Because at the end of the day, we agree with Hippocrates, who was the founder of modern medicine 2,500 years ago. Let food be thy medicine, and let medicine be thy food. So if you really want to know what's going on in a way that nobody else can show you, and get that personalized nutrition solution, and then the ability to retest and see, are you progressing in the positive or the negative? That's why people come to us.
Nice. That makes sense. Yeah, I've had my DNA tested, and it is helpful on one level because it's like a blueprint, right? So you kind of know what you're working with, but like you said, you can't change it. So it's very limited. But when you do things like a microbiome test, there's so much that you can do, like lifestyle, what you eat, your supplements, that really can change that.
Yeah.
And so do you get a lot of people who come to you with specific symptoms that get tested and then, make changes and then see results? Like, what does that typically look like?
Absolutely. I want to first say, we don't, we're a wellness company. We're not a diagnostic company. So, our goal is to move humanity forward in a better way. And that's been our mission from day one. And we see all kinds of people coming to us with symptoms like gut health issues, bloating, irritable bowel syndrome, a lot of skin issues, acne, fatigue, joint pain, lack of sleep, things like that. And if you kind of get down to the nucleus of all of those different things, including chronic diseases, what's the common feature? The common feature is what's in the middle, which is inflammation. Inflammation is the cause of so many chronic illnesses. Yeah. And there's a lot of companies out there that are looking at, food allergies and this and that. And what they're not realizing is that you're always going to be sensitive to a certain food if you never fix the actual problem at the core. So a lot of what we focus on is the inflammation, which then will, within usually about 2 months' time, you'll see dramatic results. I mean, we've had customers whose skin has been completely cleared up by changing their diet based on our recommendations. So things like eczema, acne, psoriasis. People with IBS, incredible results. People with IBD, colitis and Crohn's, incredible results. Fatigue. We're just, we have more testimonials than we can count. And we actually then went one step further. We did a study with 5,000 of our customers, and we looked at 4 chronic conditions. We looked at type 2 diabetes, IBS, and then, interestingly enough, anxiety and depression.
Mm.
And we asked these 5,000 customers, and it's a published paper, it's available online. We asked all these customers to be on the Viome program for a 5-month period, foods and supplements. And at the end of the period, we found that there was a reduction of approximately 40% of the clinical score of their symptoms for those chronic conditions. And and now we're actually doing double-blind, placebo-controlled trials, looking at different. So it's been fantastic. But yeah, we have a lot of people who feel amazingly different because at the end of the day, everybody thinks, we should all eat spinach, right? Spinach is great. Popeye told me to eat it. Popeye wasn't a scientist, no, and he didn't have any idea what your oxalate production looked like. And if you had bad oxalate production, that spinach is going to end up giving you kidney stones. Or he doesn't know that you don't have the right enzymes to digest protein and you're just eating protein that's fermenting and turning into ammonia and causing inflammation. Get the enzymes, fix it. So the one thing I want to mention that's really important is that our recommendations that we give you, both the food recommendations and the supplement recommendations, and by the way, even for those people who are outside of the US, we always give the supplement formula up front. So you don't have to pay for that. It's there. And in fact, for the first several years of our business, we weren't manufacturing. But what's really interesting is that, at the end of the day, when you do follow that regimen, it's pretty amazing to see that foods that you thought were healthy for you are actually not. But what's really interesting is that it's not forever. Your biology is always changing. You're always tuning up your car, and all of a sudden there might be this reading, so you have to put a different additive this time. It's the same with our bodies. It's not always the same. So typically our customers test every 6 months to a year. And then we adjust the food recommendations based on our findings in the microbiome because we're analyzing over 100 million microbiome organisms, viruses, bacteria, phages, enzymes, etc. And then after they get on our program, they'll find in many cases, now the foods that were good for them are bad for them are good for them. The supplement formulas have changed, and those who are buying our supplements will automatically get a new formula the next time we ship out. So they don't even have to think about it anymore.
Right. Right. Yeah, I love that. I think it can be overwhelming for people, to be honest, like when they hear all of this and when they hear about how much data they receive when doing a test like this, right? Like the oral microbiome, the gut microbiome, the blood test, there's all of this information. And it's like for the average person, what do you actually do with that, right? Obviously, you can avoid certain foods and eat the superfoods and take the supplements, but like, how do you recommend people kind of understand further what's going on and keep on the program as well? Like, I think that's the really difficult part is like, how do we implement this and actually make like long lasting change?
Sure. And I get that question a lot. I actually speak to our customers one-on-one every day, probably 5 to 10 customers a day. So I've probably spoken over 500 of them. One of the first questions is always like, this is just so overwhelming. Like, where do I go from here? Right. So what we tell everybody is, look, the scores are based on the rest of our Viome population. So you're being compared against 500,000 other customers. It's important to look at the scores and get an understanding of them. And we try very hard within our own app and the website to really explain each of the scores at a high level for those that are kind of more not the science, geeky type that want to dive into this. And then for those that are, we drill way, way, way down into subscores and pathways, etc. So that is the first step of understanding it. And really the biological age is kind of the grade point average. You have all these different scores, but the biological age, if your biological age is less than your chronological age, you're doing great. If it's right on target, you have some work to do because we want you below that. And if you're higher than your chronological, so that's the first thing is just get to know your scores, know your benchmark. The next 1, 2, 3 that I would recommend to every customer is first and foremost, avoid the foods on your avoid list completely for at least 30 days, maybe 60, and then slowly introduce them back. Next would be take the supplements. And the reason for the supplements are twofold. Number one, unfortunately, you just can't get the same vitamin and nutrient content from foods that you used to 40 years ago, right? That's a big deal. Second of all, we have a very smart AI and platform that was developed by one of the guys who developed IBM's Watson, which will essentially not only look at your samples, not only look at your answers that you gave us in the questionnaire that we ask you to do, but it's also looking at the foods that you can't eat for a certain reason. But it's also saying, she needs this food or the nutrient in that food to improve her scores. So let's put one of those ingredients in her supplements to make sure that she still gets the nutritional value without the adverse digestion issue. So supplements would be number two. And then the third would be the next food group, which is superfoods. So we have over several hundred foods in our database that we're adding every single day. And at this point in time, you have an avoid list, an enjoy list, a minimize list, and a superfood list. And those superfoods are really important. So we tell people, avoid the avoid foods, take your supplements, and then eat as many superfoods as you can. Make smoothies, soups, whatever, so that it's easy. And then retest in about 6 months to a year since your last test. And now see where you are. Where are your scores? Where's your age? And what are your new foods and new supplements? So that's the simplest way we can do it. And it's just about maintenance. It's about optimizing your nutrition for your biology on a consistent basis.
Yeah. It also comes down to just like motivation in general. Like if you're dealing with bad enough symptoms that you're getting tested, you might as well put the work in once you get the results from that test. You know what I mean? Like you might as well stick to it and change your diet and take these supplements. And I'm based in Canada, and every time I've been tested, I haven't had access to your supplements, but I've gone out and bought the formulas that you've written in the PDFs in the app everywhere for me to get. So it's actually not very difficult and it's helpful, right? It's like you said, and then you retest and hopefully your scores are better and hopefully your symptoms are better, whether it's indigestion or skin problems. And when, like, I'm a nutritionist, and when I was seeing clients, it was always that. It was always skin. It was always digestion. It's like the same thing that so many people are dealing with, which is interesting. So do you ever have like surprising results from people, or people come to you and they're surprised by their results, or anything like that that we wouldn't necessarily think?
I mean, first and foremost, I get this all the time, and we're not testing what's in your sample as far as like what foods you're eating or what vitamins you're taking.
Right.
What we're actually doing, which is our proprietary method, is we completely kill everything in your sample except for the RNA, except for the gene expression. And then we analyze that, right? So a lot of people automatically assume that we're analyzing what food they ate last night and what their favorite foods are, because at least 60% of the time, a lot of people's favorite foods are on their avoid list. It just happens to be that the microbiome loves diversity. And if you're eating the same thing every single day or every other day, it ends up not actually helping you. So people will call me up and they'll just say, I can't believe spinach is on my avoid list, or kale, or broccoli, or I've heard everything there is to know about curcumin and turmeric, and this is crazy. But the bottom line is they don't know what's going on inside. So unless you really know what's happening, you can't, one size does not fit all. Otherwise, those two identical twins that I was talking about would always be on the same cycle. Not one getting sick, one not, one being allergic to something, somebody not, is because of that expression. So I would say that's probably the first, is people get really stumped on the different foods. And then second, I would say some of the most amazing testimonials I've heard, I mean, without a doubt, skin is a huge one. I mean, I've seen photos and it's just amazing. Paris Hilton, who's one of our ambassadors, truly believes in beauty from within. So that's, a real, I think, important mechanism there. We get a lot of people who have lost weight, people whose Crohn's and IBS symptoms have just disappeared and they're no longer on medication. Those are some of my favorites for sure.
Yeah. So when you're testing for inflammation, which is like the root cause for a lot of these things, is it through the gut microbiome, blood, and oral microbiome?
All of it.
And so are you testing for the same RNA strand in all three, or is it different? Like, how does that work?
No, we're basically looking at what is in your sample, because each sample will give us probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 7 to 10 million data points. So we're not, let me make sure I'm clear here. We're not necessarily looking for signs of inflammation. What we're looking for are microorganisms that we know cause inflammation. And if we find those microorganisms, and those microorganisms come from a source that is a food, we tell you, stop eating that food immediately. And vice versa, if we don't see something in there that we know will help your inflammation reduction, we'll recommend that food or supplement to make sure that that is addressed. And it just There just is no such thing as one diet for everybody. We have 500,000 customers. Every single customer gets a different group of foods. Every single customer gets a different supplement recommendation, all 100% based on science and math. And, we're coming a long way. We actually, this technology, I don't know if you're aware of this, but this technology brought us to a little bit of a diagnostic surprise. We started seeing that everybody who had a certain kind of cancer, oral or throat cancer, had these same biomarkers with their mRNA. And so we actually took that to a clinical trial, and we took 200 people that were confirmed with oral and throat cancer and 1,000 people that were not. And we're like, oh my God, this is unreal. So we applied to the FDA and we got breakthrough device designation from the FDA, which basically means they fast track you for approval and they say this is life-saving. And we just released a product about a month and a half ago called Cancer Detect. We can actually, with just a spit of saliva, detect any stage of oral or throat cancer with 90% accuracy.
Wow.
Unheard of. So now we're doing the same thing with IBD, with every other kind of cancer. I mean, just imagine if we could detect things like pancreatic cancer in stage 1 with a bodily fluid. It's a game changer. We're saving lives by the minute. So that's what that technology really has the capacity to do. And if not for our huge database and all the customers who have given us their confidence, we wouldn't be here.
Yeah. That's
and people like you, our ambassadors, are everything to us. I mean, we can't do this alone.
Yeah. I think that's really interesting. The hard part will be getting people to get tested while they're still at stage 1, if they're not having symptoms.
Yeah.
Right. And that's a much bigger discussion of like preventative health, preventative care. And I'm also curious to see how you flush that technology out into other spaces, like your skin microbiome, vaginal microbiome. I know you guys have some things in the works, and that is very, very interesting to me. So I'm very excited about that. Before I let you go, I just want to ask you one more thing.
Sure.
For the blood test specifically, obviously this is not microbiome. This is not bacteria that you're testing in the blood. So what is it that you're testing in the blood, and why does it matter?
Yeah, cellular senescence, mitochondrial health, stress response, immune response, and biological age all come from the blood. So we're looking at the entire, think of the body as, a funnel. We're looking at the top of the funnel, which is the top of the digestive tract, using saliva, which is giving us data and intelligence on oral microbiome health and cognitive health. Your blood is giving us your cellular health activity, your mitochondria. So it's all part of what goes into our scores and we're looking at, because even though we're not looking at bacterium and things like that in the blood, the actual cells themselves that are giving us that genetic makeup do make a big difference. And then stool is all about the gut microbiome, and 70% of your immune system, some say 80%, is contained within the gut. And there are so many people that don't focus on the good bacteria, when it's unfortunate when so many physicians out there who are, it's ironic, they take the Hippocratic Oath, and Hippocrates himself talked about food. How many doctors recommend food? They don't make money making food recommendations. Yeah. So there's a tremendous amount of pharmaceuticals and different procedures that are done that could probably be fixed with just the right nutrition for the individual at that time.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And like, honestly, that's why I like Viome as much as I do, is like test, don't guess, is like something I always have believed in and always will say. And when you do something like the health intelligence test that does all 3 tests, like that is so much information. There's so much that you can do with that. You know what I mean? So yeah, thank you so much for coming on.
My pleasure.
For everyone listening, if you want to enter the giveaway, it's running right now. It's on my Instagram page. Go for it. And if not, I have a discount code. I will link it below for you to use as well.